I knew you were supposed to make a list, but nobody taught me what to do next. And this is where I made the mistake. I went through my list, and I started looking for people that I knew that needed the business. I remember I sponsored my sister and my brother-in-law. They had a big mortgage on a house that they had just purchased. They had 2 small children. I knew they needed the business. Well, I tried so hard to get my brother-in-law and my sister to do the business for at least 2 years, and I just couldn't get them to do it. You see, what it took me 2 years to figure out in this industry that I'm going to share with you right now so you don't have to make the same mistake is I wanted the business more for them than they wanted it for themselves. And I'm going to tell you, if you start approaching your business that way, you are going to be beating your head against the wall. It's very discouraging, and you might as well not do it because it's not any fun. I did it, and I don't want you to have to go through that process.
My name is Eileen Silva, and it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. How many of you are just now getting started with your network marketing business? In the last year or so, you've gotten started. Raise your hand so we can see. Great. Welcome to our industry. How many of you are making $3 million or more a year from network marketing? Raise your hand. Okay, good. This next speaker is for you. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is making an income that you have been dreaming of making. He is making more money a minute than lots of people make in a year. Ken Ponteus, our next speaker, is a man who comes to us from the real estate industry. He is a local realtor made good. He is a man who started with a dream, who took a company, incidentally, one that everyone felt was only going to be run by barefoot doctors, and have taken the herbal industry out to the masses and empowered many, many people who don't walk around with a Back to Eden book under their armpit to make many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars, and some of them also millions in a year. There's no reason for you to listen to me when you can listen to him. He's not only one of the top income earners in the world in this industry, he does work internationally in this industry. He's been Distributor of the Year. I could go on, but what I want you to do is experience his presence, one of the industry's finest, Mr. Ken Ponteus.
It is a pleasure to be here. As I was coming down here on the airplane, I've been in this industry for 20 years, done motivational seminars and training all over the world, but never generic, only for my success line. So this is the first time in 20 years that I've spoken to people outside of my company, and I'm wondering, why am I training my competitors, for crying out loud? No, I'm just kidding you. That's not the case at all. We really enjoy having the opportunity to do this, but I'm probably the only one here that doesn't have any books and tapes for sale. So you'll have to get those from somebody else. Before we get started in talking a little bit about how to build this business, and all I can do is talk to you from my experience, I want to talk a little bit about some of the lingo that we use in this industry, or some terminologies, and then we'll get into some meat of how to build this business. And I'll show you some of the mistakes that I made and hope that you all won't have to make those same mistakes. But first, you've already heard most of this before, but if you haven't, that's okay, because we need to hear things over and over again in order to, sometimes we're bullheaded a little bit, and we have to hear it many times before we really start doing it. And you've already heard that you have to get I, me, and my out of your vocabulary. You got to quit using those words in this industry. And you want to start talking about we, you, and your. Because people don't care about us. They only care about them. And so you're going to turn people off if you're out there saying, I this, I that, me this, me that. You're not going to have as much success if you're using those kind of terminology. So you might want to consider getting rid of those words in your vocabulary for this industry. Another thing that we teach our people to do is people don't want to go to meetings anymore. In their jobs, they have to go to meetings every day. When they come home at night, they're sick of meetings. They don't want to have to go. They may consider going to a seminar, a get-together, a briefing, but they're not going to go to a meeting. Meetings are something that people have to go to. Seminars, briefings, or get-togethers are things that people can choose to go to. And just the way and the words that you use can have an impact on your success in this business. Another one, so many times those of us that have tangible products that we're using. I hear this being used within our own organization, and I'm sure that, and I've made this mistake, and perhaps some of you have made this mistake too. Are your products cheap, or are they inexpensive? Big difference in making a presentation. Also, and this one bugs me, and so I've just thrown it in here. So many people talk about the marketing plan, their marketing plan. It's not a marketing plan, it's a compensation plan. A marketing plan is totally something different. Your marketing plan is the overall scheme of how you're going to do the business, or your company has a marketing plan, but you are working in a compensation plan. Also, many of us use the words upline, downline. That's always bothered me because I always thought downline sounded subservient. Doesn't support line for the upline and success line for the downline sound a whole lot better? We teach our people to use success line and support line. Also, sponsor versus recruit. If you look in Webster's dictionary under what it means, what sponsor means, you'll find that it means to be responsible for. So when you bring somebody into this business, you want to make sure that you're going to work with these people because that's your responsibility. If you bring them in and they're not successful and they have the desire to do the business, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, it's your fault, not theirs. So that's important to you. As I was growing up, I grew up in Indiana on a farm. I wasn't good in school at all. As a matter of fact, I spent most of the time in the principal's office getting paddlings. I hold the record. I'm in my grade school for getting the most paddlings, I'm sure. The school's not there anymore. They've torn it down, but I just did not like school. I graduated in the half the class in high school that made the first half possible. So you're not going to really learn a whole lot from me. All I'm going to be able to share with you is information that I've learned over the past 20 years and learned from other people as well. So we're going to have some fun here for a little while for the next hour or so, and I hope that we're going to be sharing some information that can be beneficial to you all in building your business as well. When I first started in this business 20 years ago, I was told, and you all have been told this too, that you have to have a list of people. A written list of people. But yet, even though you've heard it over and over and over again, I would venture to say that there are people in this room right now that still do not have a written list of people. As I've traveled all over North America and all over the world, I've tried to have the opportunity to meet with top successful network marketing people, no matter what company they're in, because we learn from one another. I'll call them up and I want to buy their lunch because I want to hear one thing perhaps that they can share with me that'll help me be more successful or that I can share with my success line. But one of the things that I have found amongst all the top network marketing people is that they started out with a written list of people. Now, when I got started, I took that to heart and I did it right away. Every one of you in this room know a minimum of 300 people on a first name basis. You can't think of them all right now, but you know a minimum of 300 people. If I paid you, you couldn't come up with 300 people right now, probably, but you know that many. What I chose to do when I first started, though, I wanted to have a complete and comprehensive list. So I took out the telephone book in the city that I resided in at that particular time, and I looked at the last names of everybody from A to Z in the white pages. They're in bold print in most telephone books. And I went down through there and looked at every last name so I could try to find somebody in there that I had, a name or a last name of somebody that I'd met in my past. Perhaps it had been an acquaintance that I'd forgotten about or whatever. And I wrote that name down. Then I went to the Yellow Pages, and most of the Yellow Pages have a directory of all the businesses that are in that Yellow Pages, and it shows you the page number where those businesses are. And what I did is I looked at every type of business, so it would remind me of somebody that I might know that has come from that type of business. And when I was finished, I had over 1,300 names on my list. And constantly, every day, I'm adding new names to my list. I have over 100,000 names on my list today. And you'll continually have new names to put on your list as well. Well, what do you do once you get that list? That's what I didn't know. I knew you were supposed to make a list, but nobody taught me what to do next. And this is where I made the mistake. I went through my list, and I started looking for people that I knew that needed the business. I remember I sponsored my sister and my brother-in-law. They had a big mortgage on a house that they had just purchased. They had 2 small children. I knew they needed the business, so I sponsored them in. I sponsored a couple in Illinois. I lived in Springfield, Missouri at the time, by the name of Dave and Cheryl Strobeck. I knew they needed the business as well, and I kept doing that kind of thing. Now, I told you that I've made every mistake there is to be made in this industry because I've never really had any training from anybody. Anybody that's ever sponsored me in network marketing, in the 9 companies that I've been with, when I signed the application, they sort of disappeared. Some of you perhaps have had that happen to you as well. And so I've learned everything I've learned through the School of Hard Knocks. But you know what? In the long run, it's paid off because I'm able to share the mistakes that I made with you all now. So I continued to sponsor people that I just knew needed this business. Well, I tried so hard to get my brother-in-law and my sister to do the business for at least 2 years, and I just couldn't get them to do it. I remember driving 7 hours to Illinois and going up and doing a presentation for the Strobecks on a weekend. We would go to their home, and they'd have about 8 or 10 or 12 people there. People seemed to be pretty excited. They seemed to be pretty excited. But when I drive all the way back 7 hours, nothing happened. So I did it again. I went up 6 weeks later. They had a whole new group of people. And people seemed to be pretty excited. Went back home, nothing happened. I'm pretty thick-headed, folks, and it took me 3 times to figure this out. I did it again. I went back up 7 hours up there again. All new people came back home. You see, what it took me 2 years to figure out in this industry that I'm going to share with you right now so you don't have to make the same mistake is I wanted the business more for them than they wanted it for themselves. And I'm going to tell you, if you start approaching your business that way, you are going to be beating your head against the wall. It's very discouraging, and you might as well not do it because it's not any fun. I did it, and I don't want you to have to go through that process. So that's really an important thing that I wanted to share with you. Let's see what... I usually don't even follow notes. I'm just usually all over the place, but I only have an hour today, so I had to write some notes here to see what we're going to do. You see, what I didn't really understand back then was that it takes a whole lot more than need. There's a lot of people out here truly have a need, but they don't really want to do anything about it. There's something else that's very, very important as well. You have to have a desire to do something about that need. And that's what it took me so long to figure out. And once I figured that out, that I not only had to find somebody that perhaps had a need, but they also truly had to have a desire, then the business started getting a little bit easier for me. And unfortunately, what most people have a tendency to do in this industry is spend 80% of their time trying to get people to do what they're not going to do anyway, and only 20% of their time working with people that truly have a desire to do this business. And so don't make that mistake because it's not fun. I'll tell you for sure. Now, what should you do with that list? And it took me a while. What you want to do is you take that list after you've got it written down and you want to prioritize that list. Now, let me tell you how I teach our people to do it. And if this will work for you, that's perfectly okay. But you have to have a certain posture in this industry. Posturing is very, very important. And here's what you really want to say to yourself. You're involved in your company now. You're a distributor or you're a member of your company. And here's what you want to say to yourself. I am the president of my own multi-million-dollar corporation. Now, who are the people on this list that I can go get that as my vice presidents to help my multi-million-dollar corporation succeed. And those are the people that you put a star beside, because those are the people that you're going to want to go after. You're not going to go after your mother or your father or your brother or your sister that maybe need the business, but you got to find those people that are doers, because it makes it so much easier. Too many of us are in the babysitting industry in the network marketing, and that's no fun either. You want to be able to work with people that really, truly have the desire to do something about it.
Well, on that note, let's take a 30-second mental break, and then we will resume with Ken's words of wisdom.
What do you do now that you've identified who those people are? Well, the next thing you don't do is contact those people yourself. I made that mistake because I got involved in the business and I went out, and honestly, I blew some of my best prospects because I tried to introduce them to something that I didn't really understand what it was. And so we have a tendency sometimes to fire hose people if we're excited about something. We want to share our information with everybody, and maybe they aren't really ready for it yet, but we want to do it anyway. And so I blew some of my best prospects. I'll never forget a gentleman by the name of Lou Sigourney. He had been involved in network marketing before, and I was enamored with the success that he had had. And I wanted to get him involved with us in our business. But I went to Lou and I presented the opportunity to him, and he listened very politely. And he said to me, he says, "Ken, are you making $10,000 a month yet?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, come back and see me when you're making $10,000. Well, what in the world do you say about that when somebody says that? I mean, I had to be honest with him. You see, what I didn't recognize back then that I recognize now is I should have gone to my sponsor or my sponsor's sponsor that was making $10,000 a month and had him make the presentation on my behalf. I may very well have had an opportunity to get Lou Sigourney in my business at that point. I certainly would have had a much better chance. But what we teach people that are relatively new in the network marketing industry, and once you're in for a while and you get to know your company and your products a lot better, this will change. But we teach people right up front, do not make a presentation to any of your prospects by yourself. Now, why? Why would we say that? Because you're a rookie. But here's the interesting thing about human nature. Maybe some of these people know us too well. Maybe they've seen us pick our nose and take the garbage out. And we don't have any credibility with these people. And so they're not going to really listen to us. So what we do is we have the contacts, we have the list, but let's bring the stranger in from afar. It says in the Bible, you're not a prophet in your own city. Let's learn from that and allow somebody to make the presentation on your behalf that they don't know, because they're going to show respect for that person and they're going to allow the presentation to be done, and your chances are much greater at getting a good individual in your business than if you tried to do it yourself. Now, as I said, later on, as you get better and better and better, and if you've had some success in the industry, that may not be applicable. But I'm going to tell you right now, I still use people to contact certain people because I know they can do a better job for me than I can do for myself. And so you may want to use those kinds of things. You know, you saw Robert Butwin have up here on his overheads today that formula that all of us have heard about. It's in Wave 3 as well. It's called SWSWSWN. And he's actually added some more to his formula. I had never seen what he had added before, but he's never seen what I'm going to say right now either. What it means totally is some will, some won't, so what next? Well, I changed the formula, and it's SWSWSWNT. What that means is some will, some won't, so what next time? Now let me share with you what I'm talking about here. People have had a tendency in this industry to teach that this is a numbers game. So you go make presentations, and if the people say no, just throw them in the trash and go to the next person. I don't agree with that at all. Because if the person is one of your stars on your list and they say to you right now that they're not interested in the business, you have enough respect for those people that you know that they could be quality distributors at some point. Don't throw them in the trash. I'll give you an example why. In August of 1986, I was doing a three-way call with one of our distributors. We called a gentleman in New York that was a comptroller for an advertising agency up there. I did the presentation on behalf of this distributor, and the individual on the other end of the line, he was not interested at that point. One of the things that I always say when I hang up, when somebody says no, that they're not interested, I already know that it's timing. The timing just isn't right for them right now. They're not actually rejecting you as an individual by saying no. I just know that the timing is not right now in their life for what I had to offer them. So what I said to this gentleman, I said, would it be okay from time to time if we touch base with you just to let you know how we're doing and see how you're doing as well? I've never, ever had anybody that has said no to me when I've said that. And so I told the distributor after we got off the phone, I said, put this in your funnel system, your tickler file for 3 months from now, and let's contact this gentleman back. Well, it was his prospect, so I didn't think any more about it, and I'm still working with lots of other people. We went about our business, and actually the gentleman didn't follow up in 90 days. He waited 5 months, over 5 months. It was January of the next year, 1987, that we actually did the three-way call back just to see how this gentleman was doing. Now, let me tell you what happened in his life between August and January. First of all, his advertising agency had been bought out by another larger advertising agency. Now the company had 2 comptrollers, so they had no use for him anymore, so they laid him off. In addition to that, between August and January, his wife had twins. Now, had things changed in their life? Absolutely. So when we called him, he was more receptive to what we had to offer. And eventually, he became a distributor in our company and was one of the top 10 income earners in that company. And so if I had taught our people to throw that name in the trash and just go on to somebody else, we would have never had the opportunity to work with this gentleman and the success that we were able to derive because of what he was able to do. Same thing can happen to you. And when I go back over my 20 years experience, I think back that most of the legs that I have ever sponsored into the companies that I've been associated with that were my largest legs, the people originally told me no. It took more than one contact in order to get these people involved with us in the business. Because sponsoring somebody is not an event. It's a process. And so it's developing, as you heard from Robert Butwin, it's developing a relationship with a person or persons. And so keep that in mind. If you have done a presentation already to somebody that you knew would be very, very good for your organization and they declined or they turned you down, don't just never talk to them again. Keep in contact with them and see what's happening because you never know what's going to happen in their lives. Just think about what happens in your own lives and how things change in 6 months or a year. Nothing is for sure but change. You know, it's interesting, too, that one of the other things that we like to teach our people as well is so many times we are hesitant when we're a brand new distributor to go out and even want to contact people because we're new to the business, we're afraid or whatever. But Robert touched on this a little bit, and I know it's going to be touched on by a lot of the other people. It's interesting. We all have a different way of approaching it or teaching it, but we're all probably going to say a lot of the same things today. But remember this. I learned this a long time ago. Only 7% of communication are words, and 93% is physiology. Now, what do we mean by that? What is physiology? It's how people feel about you, how people feel about the person that's doing the presentation on the other end of that line or across the table or in an opportunity presentation or whatever. That's what's going to make the determination on whether or not they're going to possibly become a distributor or a user of your products because they buy you before they buy the company or the products. They buy the person doing the presentation before they buy the company or the products as well. So that's important to remember that. I'm asked a lot, how do you do a presentation? And I learned about 15 years ago a presentation that one of my mentors taught me, and I've always used this presentation in one format or another. And in different situations, I might adjust it a little bit, but I thought perhaps it might be beneficial for some of you to learn a little bit about this. It's an outline. It's a 7-step presentation, so I'm going to give it to you in case you'd be interested in writing it down. Number 1, I'm going to go through the 7, and I'm going to come back and talk about them. Dreams/money. Number 2, industry. Number 3, company/management. Number 4, products. Number 5, compensation. Number 6, support. Number 7, close. So let's go back and talk about each one of these a little bit and see how you can apply these if you choose to do it. Well, first of all, I love to get people to dream, because I find out in today's world when I'm talking to people, whether it be on behalf of somebody else or myself, that people are so beat down that they've quit dreaming. It's absolutely amazing to me. I mean, people are so concerned about being able to pay their mortgage payment this month, their credit card bill, their utilities, their car payment, that they don't see themselves even being able to dream anymore. And it's really a shame that that's happened. People are in a rut. They really are, consistently. They don't even change the way they go to work. It's the same street, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth every day. And you know, the only difference between a rut and a grave is the depth of the hole. And that's exactly what happens. The rut continues to get deeper and deeper and deeper until someday these people pass away. And so I have a very difficult time sometimes getting people to dream and think about something that they'd like to be able to do if they could afford it. 99 times out of 100, the first thing they're going to say is, I want to get out of debt. So we exclude that. We're going to assume that we're going to help them do that. So let's just say, what is it that you'd like to do if you were out of debt that you can't do right now? And I'm telling you, it's hard to get people to come up with something. Sometimes I've had to go in the front door. Sometimes I've had to go in the side door. And sometimes I've had to come in the back door before I've actually got somebody to start thinking about a dream. And what I mean by that is that I've had to ask the question in a different way each time in order to get them to come up with a dream. But I will not, if I'm doing a 2-on-1 or a 1-on-1 or whatever it is, I will not go on until I get that person to tell me what their dream is. I will not present the rest of the program if they won't give me that. The second one is industry. We're in the network marketing industry. I'm proud of this industry. The first company I became involved with back in 1977 taught me, don't tell people what company you're involved with. Use the curiosity approach. If they ask you what you're doing, just to ask them what they think it is, and when they can't tell you what it is, well, then tell them to come on over anyway. Well, I was a failure at that because I can't do that. If I can't be proud of my industry, if I can't be proud of my company, then I don't want anything to do with it. This is an exciting industry, and we all should be proud of it. New things are happening, incredible things in this industry. And there are companies out there that are teaching their distributors not to say that you're in the network marketing or multi-level marketing industry. Tell them it's XYZ, and I'm not going to go into whatever. But that's a tragedy in my opinion. That's a shame. We should be proud of this industry. There are so many exciting things happening. I mean, the Wall Street Journal did a beautiful, beautiful interview of Dr. Charles King and gave us tremendous credibility in this industry. Dr. Charles King, just within the last 12 months, did a presentation at Harvard Business School on the network marketing industry. Several universities are considering now adding network marketing to the curriculums of their universities and their business schools now. This industry is coming of age, and we should be proud of it. We shouldn't be trying to hide what it is that we're involved with. Most people have a hard time trying to explain the network marketing industry. We do this in training sometimes, and we have our distributors explain to us what network marketing is. And it's very humorous sometimes because the more they talk, the more they stick their feet in their mouth. They really can't explain it. So I have a very good friend by the name of Richard Strickland in Atlanta, Georgia, that many years ago gave me a 1-sentence definition of network marketing. I'd like to share that with you right now, and if it works for you, wonderful. Network marketing is a conglomerate of individual businesses working together for mutual success. And really, that explains it. I'll go back over it. Network marketing is a conglomerate of individual businesses working together for mutual success. We're in the people helping people business. Corporate America, as you all know, is a dog-eat-dog situation because the higher up you get in corporate America, there are less and less jobs available. And the people are there. They don't want you to get that promotion, so they're going to do everything they can to help you not get there because they want it. So corporate America is in competition with. Network marketing is in cooperation with, because we can't succeed unless we help other people succeed. And that's what's exciting about this business, because we all come in at the bottom and there's a whole lot of room at the top. In corporate America, it's not that case because there's only one president. And so the higher up you get, the less the positions there are. And so that's really all I ever tell them. You can spend 1 or 2 minutes on this industry, and that's really all you have to do. Next, company/management. All the prospect wants to know right now, is this company stable? Is it solid? Is it going to be around for a while if I get in this company? And do they have good management? You can spend 1 or 2 minutes just giving the bullets of your company. And if you believe in that company, you certainly are able to go ahead and do that. Talk about the stability, how long they've been in business, financial background of the company, anything that you have that is beneficial, because that's important to a prospect at this point. It really is. You can do that in 1 or 2 minutes too. Products, you don't really have time to go into products. Now, it depends on what company you're with. Some of you may only have one product. Other companies have multiple products. What we teach our people, because we're a multiple product company, is we're in the storytelling business. What you do is you develop a story relating to one of the products that you're using, and you share that story with that individual, because again, they buy you before they buy the product or the company. And so that's important to develop a story. You can just basically share a little bit of information about why the product that you're representing is a trend in the future, whatever it is, but there are certain things that you all have that you're able to do. You don't have to go into all the ingredients of all the products, for goodness sakes, because people don't care about this stuff anyway. All they want to know is, this product work? If I choose to become involved with it and use it, is it going to work for people? Because most people know that long-term success in network marketing, you've got to have good products. They want to know if you got a money-back guarantee. Also, these kinds of things, just to let them know that what you've got is available. Okay, then next is compensation. Mike? Yeah.
Do you sell a product?
I do both. I basically do both. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Compensation. This is what really blows me away about some distributors. There's 3 presentations going to be given today and tomorrow from 3 people that come from the same city. Mark Yarnell sitting right up there, myself, and Doug Weed. We all come from Springfield, Missouri. We lived there for a number of years. I don't know how that happened, and we didn't even know one another when we lived there, for goodness sakes. But anyway, here's what's interesting about what people have a tendency to do. And I want to go back and share with you 1977, when Dr. David Brown, an orthopedic surgeon, did a presentation on me, and he spun the circles. You all know what that means. If you don't, it's amazing to me that you don't know. But anyway, he spun those circles, and he had me bring friends over to my house. And so we had people there, and so here he was going through this whole thing and how these circles work, and he kept looking at me, and he'd say, "Ken, you understand this?" And you know what? I owned one of the largest real estate companies in that city at the time, and I thought I was pretty successful, but I didn't understand it, but I didn't want him to know it. So I kept saying, yes, I understand, but I didn't. And it took me like 2 months before I figured out how this cotton picking thing worked. And then it was like a light bulb, and it came on at that point. People don't need to know that now. That comes in training later that you teach your compensation plan. All they want to know right now as a prospect is, if I choose to join you in your business, can I make a little bit of money? That's all they need to know right now. About 5 years ago, I saw something in USA Today that absolutely blew me away, and I've never forgotten it. And we use this a lot in training and opportunity presentations. I saw this. 80% of all personal bankruptcies in the United States could be avoided if the family were making an extra $250 a month. That blew me away. 80% of all personal bankruptcies. That's what network marketing is all about, folks. We don't have to be out here talking about making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000. They don't care what we make. They care about them and what they can do. And so what we do is when we sit down and do a presentation with somebody, we talk to them about how we're going to help them make their first $250. Because that may be the difference of being able to make a mortgage payment or a car payment or whatever. And that's where we start out. And it's a series of short-term steps. But you know what's happened to me? As many presentations as I've done, talking to people about that first $250, I've never yet had anybody say to me, okay, Ken, I'm making the $250 now. I don't want to make any more. Now we go to the $500 level. Then we go to the $1,000 level, the $2,500 level, the $5,000. It's a series of short-term goals. You don't go from zero to 10 or 20 or $30,000. It won't work. I remember a story that I heard several years ago, and I doubt that it's a true story. It may very well be, but I heard about a story where there was a plane crash on the North Pole. And there were 8 people in that plane. They had to crash land. None of them got hurt, but there was no communication. People didn't know where they were or whatever. They were 1,000 miles from anywhere. When I heard this, I've always remembered it because they said that one person made it out. And when they found him and he made it out, they said, how could you have done that? How did you make it when the other 7 perished? He thought about it for a minute and he said, each one of those 7 probably thought that they had to walk 1,000 miles. And what I thought was I had to walk 1 mile 1,000 times. And that's how he made it, and the rest of them didn't. That's exactly the way it is in network marketing. We're bringing people in, we're showing them an opportunity to use tremendous products for their health or whatever you have to offer. You also have the opportunity to make whatever amount of money it is that they want to make. But most people wouldn't believe the kinds of money that a lot of people make. If we go out there and start talking about $50,000 and $100,000, they're not going to believe it anyway, because they can't see themselves that happening. And so it's a process that you have to go through. Now, Mike just asked me a question. And I was just talking to Eileen Silva before this morning started, and I've never heard on a tape or books in this industry what I'm going to share with you right now. And I found out Eileen's got a tape out on this. I blew me away when I heard this. So she's going to share a little bit this afternoon about a concept, and I hope I don't say something that she doesn't believe here, because I'm just sharing what I've learned along the years. Remember I said I'd been in this industry for 20 years. I've done a tremendous number of presentations in those 20 years. And I've learned that there's a difference between men and women. I mean, let's be realistic here. There's a very, very popular book out there called Women Are From Venus and Men Are From Mars. Okay, Dr. Pat Allen has written a book and talking about the differences that men go through and the differences that women go through in their decision-making process. There is a significant difference. So I'd like to share something with you that I have found to be true and that I've been able to teach to our distributors, and they're finding it to be true now as well. None of this is meant to be offensive to anybody, believe me, but it's reality, and I'm going to share it with you. If you don't like, I had one woman get up and walk out on me when I did this, and one of my distributors got up and walked out when I shared this. 8 out of 10 times, if you're making a presentation to a woman, you better be talking about the products, because a woman is not going to share a product unless she believes in that product herself. Now, ladies, am I correct about that? Okay, all right. On the other hand, 8 out of 10 times when you're making a presentation to a man, you better be talking about the opportunity. Men will get in because of the opportunity and hope the product works. Now, guys, am I right about that? It is. Because you know why? Because a man is thinking about security for his family, how he's going to pay for the college educations of his children, and those kinds of things. And so you've got to use the numbers on your behalf. And so people say, well, what do you do when you're talking to a couple? You better find out who wears the pants in the family and slant the presentation toward that individual. Ladies, if you want to get successful men in your business, you better have a man in your support line do the presentation for you. Now, I hate to say that. It's unfortunate, but there are some men that do not yet respect women in business. And your chances are much greater of getting that man in your business if you have another man present on your behalf. Now, again, I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm just talking about reality. And so if that helps you, great. If it doesn't, okay, too. Another thing that I'd like to share with you is some of you perhaps have already experienced this or you've already been taught this. One of the really key words in this industry is momentum. And it's much easier to build your organization fast than it is slow. Now, what do we mean by that, for goodness sake? Stop and think about it. When you originally made the decision to become involved with the company that you're involved with, you decided to become a distributor, or anybody else subsequently that you bring in that becomes a distributor or a member, they're most excited about the opportunity right when they first get in. And the longer it takes you to help them get started, the more their enthusiasm is going to wane. And so what you've got to do as soon as you get them in is you've got to get that list done ASAP. You're going to know whether these people are serious about the business based on whether or not they put their list together quick. And what you're going to want to do is the night that you bring them into your business, you're going to say to them, you look at your calendar and you let them know that I've got Tuesday or Thursday night available next week or this week. Which night's better for you? I've got between 7 and 9. In other words, you give them an alternate choice, as you've all heard that. And what you're going to do is you're going to spend 2 hours with those people doing presentations to their people. Or you're going to have them have people come over to their home. Or you're going to be doing 3-way calls if it's long distance or whatever. But you're going to make a commitment to these people right now. What? I'm getting way off. I haven't even finished my outline yet, have I? But you're going to actually do that because you want to get them started fast. And I'm going to come back because I jumped clear out of my outline here. Gosh, I'm sorry. All right, now, can I make money? That's what's important. The next one is support or training. Here's the one that, in my opinion, most people fail to discuss in making any kind of a presentation, whether it's an opportunity presentation or whether it's a one-on-one, a two-on-one, whatever, or a three-on-one or a 3-way call, whatever. Have you ever brought a guest to a function, a BizOp meeting or BizOp seminar, get-together briefing, and their body language was such that you thought they were sort of getting into it a little bit. They liked the testimonies they were hearing, and they liked the company, and then when it came time to make the decision, they said, well, I want to think about it. Well, in many situations, those people don't even know why they said that. They don't know why they said, I'd like to think about it. Subconsciously, basically what they're saying, we haven't answered a question for them that they have got to have answered before they're going to make a decision whether they can get in this business with us. And here's the question that we fail to answer. They want to know, can I do this business? If they can't see themselves doing this business, they're not going to get in. They just aren't. And they may not know why they're not going to get in. But in many situations, that's the reason they choose not to become a distributor at that point. Other times you're going to hear that there's information. They're missing some information, and that may be true too. But what we talk about, yes, they can make a little bit of money. We let them know what kind of support is available. We let them know the tools that the company has available, the outstanding literature, the audio tapes, the videotapes. We let them know about conference calls that we do on a weekly basis that they can plug their people into. We go completely upline, support line, who their support line is, what kind of success these people have had, and they're there to help you because we're in the people helping people business, and the people above you can only make money if you make money. So it's important to them to help you succeed. And you've got to go through this whole process so they understand that they're in business for themselves but not by themselves, that we're all going to work together to be successful. If you can answer that question for them, you're going to have a much better shot at getting them involved in your business. Number 7 is the close. And basically what we do here, I'll say something like this. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, do you see now with the support of myself and all the people above us and the tremendous tools that our company has available to us, how we're going to help you all take that wonderful trip to Hawaii? And you go right back up and you tie it to the dream that they started out talking to you about. And that's how we present. Now, obviously, in a real large setting, in a business opportunity presentation or seminar, you can't talk individually, but you still want people to visualize or write down what their dream is so you can still tie the close back into that dream. And that's the 7-step presentation that we've used, and we've used it very, very successfully.
And obviously, it's worked very well for Ken and his organization. Now, why don't we take another 30-second mental break, and then we will go back to the live seminar to learn some more from Ken.
Now, we were talking about fast, and I got ahead of myself, and I apologize, about building fast versus slow. I'm sure many of you have had the opportunity, if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, to fly out of DWF out here, and every time I get on one of these wide-body airplanes, one of these 747s, I'm just in awe, and I've flown them many, many, many times. I mean, they're longer than a football field. I look at that sucker, and I think, how in the world is this thing ever going to get off the ground? And you get into it, and it gets out the end of the runway, and all of a sudden, I'm not a pilot, and I've never had a pilot explain this to me yet, but here's what happens. That pilot takes that throttle, and they put that throttle all the way down as far as they can put that throttle. And little by little by little, that airplane starts picking speed up. And I'll tell you, there's been many times that I didn't think that plane was going to get off that runway before we ran out of runway. But it always has. It's amazing. But what happens with that 747 is, I don't know whether it's the altitude or I don't know if it's after a certain number of minutes or whatever, but one of the things that I've always noticed, after they're up in the air for whatever period of time it is, all of a sudden they can let back on that throttle a little bit and that plane will continue to go on up. Ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly the way your business is as well. When you make the decision to go for whatever business it is that you're in, you see, many of you are in network marketing, but network marketing is not yet in you. Many of you are in your company, but your company is not yet in you. And as soon as you make the decision that you're in your company and you put that throttle to the floor, it's a 90-day process to get to the top. Because what you're going to start developing is momentum that you won't be able to stop if you tried it. But you've got to go full throttle, all out. Sure, maybe some of you only have 3 hours a week, 10 hours a week, whatever it is. Go full throttle. You've got to do it to be successful. There's two words that you hear in this business, gotta wanna. You gotta wanna do the business. If you don't, you're just going through the motions. The company's not in you yet. And so it's such a simple business. And it's such a fun business. It really is. They told you a little bit about my background. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've been with 9 companies in 20 years. Unfortunately, most of the companies left me. I didn't leave them. And we've been the top income producers in 5 of those 9. I'm currently the top income producer in the company that we're in. We have over 325,000 distributors in our organization now worldwide. We generate between about $150 million in volume through our organization at this point in time. And I've been with this company now for not 8 years yet. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. We've had several people in our organization featured in Success Magazine. In the December issue, 1995, I was featured in that magazine where the front cover said, "We create millionaires." I was featured in there as well. We've had some very, very good success. Now, I can't take any credit for it because, ladies and gentlemen, you can't be successful in network marketing by yourself. I've had the opportunity to be associated with some wonderful people that were teachable, that we were able to go out and do the business with, have a lot of fun, and we've got people making more money now than they ever thought possible. And it makes no difference what company you're in. You can do the same thing in the company you're in. The sky is the limit if you want to do the business. It's very, very important that you really are into it. You know, Robert was talking today about presentation. And I want to talk a little bit about presentation too, because your time is valuable. Many of us are only in the network marketing industry on a part-time basis. There's another thing that Robert reminded me of that I want to share with you too. I have a very good friend out of Fayetteville, Arkansas that's in the network marketing industry. He's in another company. His name is Dr. John Toma. And I'll always remember what Dr. John Toma told me. He said he's a professor at the University of Arkansas. And what he says is, I have a job to make a living and I'm in network marketing to make my fortune. Now, isn't that a pretty good saying? That's powerful. It really is. And I always remember that. And Robert brought that to mind when he was talking about some of this. Every time you make a presentation, though, you're looking for one of four things. And you should get one of these four things every time a presentation is done. If you don't, you've wasted your time. Number one, obviously, you're looking for a business builder. We all are looking for those kinds of people that could turn out to be a leader or your gold star or your gold ship, whatever you want to call it. The second thing that you want out of that presentation is you want to have a what we call a smart consumer or a wholesale purchaser. If they're not interested in building the business, they may be interested in becoming involved in your business and getting the product wholesale rather than retail. The third one, and these are the people that I don't understand. I never have understood them, but there's a very small percentage of people, believe it or not, that would rather than sign a distributor application, they would rather buy the products from you retail. There's a certain number of people out there. I don't know why, but that's the case. So retail customer is the third one. And the fourth one, Robert talked about, and I truly believe this, and this is the one that most people don't utilize, is referrals. Boy, that's important. And I'll bet you that many people today that have been successful are going to talk about referrals. What we have a tendency to do, and it's just human nature, that when we do a presentation and someone tells us no, we feel rejected. And so we want to get out of there as quickly as we can, pack up everything that we've shown them and get out of there and just go someplace else. But you got to remember, folks, they haven't rejected you. Timing wasn't right now. That's all you got to remember. What you want to do is, if you haven't got one of those first three things, then you ask for referrals, because what you don't understand is that they hate telling you no as much as you hate to hear no. And so anyway, you ask for referrals at that point, and you'll be able to get some referrals, and then you can use them as a third-party influence to go contact these people. And you'll either get some great wholesale purchasers or business builders, or maybe some retail customers out of it. So it's really important to you to do that. Those are the four steps. Don't get out of any presentation without getting one of those four things. The other thing that I want to share with you today, and my time is just about up, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of our speakers because they really, truly are outstanding. I want to talk a little bit about being open for business. Robert touched on a little bit about it today. And I had never heard him do a presentation before, and I was surprised at how much of what he's using I use in my trainings. We've never talked about a lot of these things before, but I believe, just like he does with regard to a business card, don't use your company's name. You're an independent contractor. Use your own name and create a business card that will create curiosity. If any of you want my business card today, you'll see that it says Ken Ponteus, and then below it I put down Diversified Income Specialist. Well, what in the heck is that? Nobody knows what a diversified income specialist is, or a secondary income specialist. Come up with some creative name that nobody knows what the heck it is. Then when you hand them the business card and they see it, they have to ask you what business you're in. And as soon as they ask you, you got them. They've got to listen then. And so anyway, that's important to do. But being open for business, what do we talk about what do we mean what do I mean when I say be open for business all the time? You need to be wearing an imaginary button 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, looking for the opportunity to present your product or your products or your opportunity for your company. And I'll give you a couple examples of situations that have happened in our own organization, and I think you'll understand what I mean about being open for business. One of our distributors in Portland, Oregon, answered the telephone when it rang in her home about 1.5 years ago, and it was a wrong number. Now, I'm going to tell you, 999 people out of 1,000 would hang the phone up and say, I'm sorry, it's a wrong number. But Debbie had the foresight to ask the lady on the other end of the line, because we have some weight loss products in our company. She had the foresight to ask this woman on the other end of the line before she hung up, do you know of anybody that might be interested in losing some weight? And this woman said, yeah, my husband, he weighs 430 pounds. And so Debbie got together with this lady on the other end of the line, and Jim King got on our products, has lost 140 pounds. He's a long-haul truck driver. He is building one whale of a business in our company, and it all came from a wrong telephone number. Now, how many of you would have been that open for business? Another situation, we have a gentleman in Dana Point, California. He is 73 years old. He's got more enthusiasm than a 25-year-old does. Lots of energy, and he's just really bubbly and bouncy. He's an incredible guy. Matter of fact, I think he holds the record. I've been in this industry for 20 years, and he's the first man I've ever known that has sponsored 3 of his ex-wives on his front line in the company. And now he's remarried one of them, too. But anyway, he called 800 information to get the telephone number of Southwest Airlines because he wanted to fly up into, I think he was going to Montana. And he was calling to see whether they flew into Billings, Montana, I think is the city that he was trying to go to, because he wanted to save some money on an airline flight. Well, he wrote the number down that he got from the recording, from the operator, but he must have written it down wrong. Because when he called the 800 number, he got a fabric manufacturing company in Idaho. Well, I'd have just hung up, and probably everybody in this room would have just hung up too. But Hugh, being the type of a gentleman he is, he can just strike up a conversation with anybody. He starts talking to this woman on the other end of the line, finds out what the business is and that kind of thing, and asks her, how do you like the business? And her exact words were, not worth a damn. Because they were working long hours and everything else. Anyway, to make a long story short, Hugh was able to sponsor these people into our company. They have since sold their fabric manufacturing company. They're well on their way to becoming a top income earner in our company, and it all came because he got the wrong 800 number when he called to get that information for Southwest Airlines. Folks, that's being open for business. I just got back from Malaysia Sunday night. I was over there for 7 days, did 7 different presentations in 7 different cities in Malaysia. And I was talking to one of our distributors over there, and he, by accident, looked at the long line in his telephone book. He has all of his names and telephone numbers of people that he's met over the years. And he meant to call one person, and he called somebody else. Well, this other person was a top network marketing person. He had no intention of calling this person at all. Called it by accident. And anyway, this gentleman is one of the top network marketing people in Malaysia. Interestingly enough, the timing was right for him to look at another opportunity, and he has now just become a distributor in our company. And it all came because he looked at the wrong line on his telephone book. It's amazing how things can happen. So be open for business 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, because you're going to hear somebody say something that will actually help you offer a product or offer the opportunity, because they may need some extra money. They may have a health challenge. There's many, many other types of things based on whatever business that you're in that you just need to be open for business, and you can succeed beyond your wildest dreams. My time is up. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to each one of you. I know you're all going to be very, very successful in this business. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here today. So thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate it a lot.
Wow. Have you already gotten your money's worth or what? Let's review some of the key points Ken shared. Ken, why is it important that we carefully prioritize our list?
What most people have a tendency to do in this industry is spend 80% of their time trying to get people to do what they're not going to do anyway, and only 20% of their time working with people that truly have a desire to do this business. And so don't make that mistake.
Okay, Ken, but to help ensure that we don't make that mistake, is there anything we can say to ourselves that will help us while we are prioritizing our list?
Here's what you want to say to yourself. I am the president of my own multi-million-dollar corporation. Now, who are the people on this list that I can go get that as my vice presidents to help my multi-million-dollar corporation succeed? And those are the people that you put a star beside, because those are the people that you're going to want to go after. You're not going to go after your mother or your father or your brother or your sister that maybe need the business, but you got to find those people that are doers, because it makes it so much easier. Too many of us are in the babysitting industry and the network marketing, and that's no fun either. You want to be able to work with people that really, truly have the desire to do something about it.
Okay, Ken, they got their list. They prioritized it. Now here comes the presentation. What do you teach people who are relatively new about conducting a presentation?
Well, we teach people that are relatively new in the network marketing industry. And once you're in for a while and you get to know your company and your products a lot better, this will change. But we teach people right up front, do not make a presentation to any of your prospects by yourself. Now, why? Why would we say that? Because you're a rookie. But here's the interesting thing about human nature. Maybe some of these people know us too well. Maybe they've seen us pick our nose and take the garbage out. And we don't have any credibility with these people. And so they're not going to really listen to us. So what we do is we have the contacts, we have the list. But let's bring the stranger in from afar. It says in the Bible, you're not a prophet in your own city. Let's learn from that and allow somebody to make the presentation on your behalf that they don't know, because they're going to show respect for that person and they're going to allow the presentation to be done, and your chances are much greater at getting a good individual in your business than if you tried to do it yourself.
Good point, Ken. Now, what have you discovered about sponsoring people in the business over the last 2+ decades that you've been in this business?
When I go back over my 20 years experience, I think back that most of the legs that I have ever sponsored into the companies that I've been associated with, that were my largest legs, the people originally told me no. It took more than one contact in order to get these people involved with us in the business. Because sponsoring somebody is not an event. It's a process.
I totally agree with that, Ken. Now, there is a 7-step outline that you use when giving presentations. Will you quickly summarize what those 7 steps are?
Number 1, dreams/money. Number 2, industry. Number 3, company/management. Number 4, products. Number 5, compensation. Number 6, support. Number 7, close.
Ken, one thing I've noticed is that even though people are involved in network marketing, they really don't fully understand what it is. Can you give us some insight on this?
Network marketing is a conglomerate of individual businesses working together for mutual success. We're in the people helping people business. Corporate America, as you all know, is a dog-eat-dog situation, because the higher up you get in corporate America, there are less and less jobs available. And the people are there. They don't want you to get that promotion, so they're going to do everything they can to help you not get there because they want it. So corporate America is in competition with. Network marketing is in cooperation with, because we can't succeed unless we help other people succeed.
Well, there you have it. Ken has just given you a multitude of insights regarding how to use the basics to build your MLM fortune. Now, I think it's important to note, especially for those of you who are fairly new, that you should consult your next active support team member before you go around and changing your entire method of operation, because they are the ones that counsel with you on a regular basis, and you may find something rather unique or different about your particular situation. Nevertheless, Ken has just given you the fundamentals, a good blueprint from which you can build upon. Now, before we go, Ken, can you give us just one last insight?
Many of you are in your company, but your company is not yet in you. And as soon as you make the decision that you're in your company and you put that throttle to the floor, it's a 90-day process to get to the top. Because what you're going to start developing is momentum that